Okay, John, give us a heads up when everyone's in, and we can have a conversation kicked off.
Well, we've lots of people coming in, 10 so far.
Well, I'm hoping it's near 30. If they've bailed even before they actually heard us speak, Fiona, that's a real concern. Halfway through, I could understand. Um, the It makes me laugh.
There you go.
Is
Good to begin from John.
all right. Okay. What I'll do is I'll get the PowerPoint deck shared, and then I won't be able to see my notes, but that's just the way of it. Okay. Now, I'm assuming everybody can see that and all the swearing that I put on the bottom of my slides. So we'll go with the unprofessional style. Good afternoon, everyone. Listen, thanks for joining us today. Today I'm joined by Fiona Chalice. Afternoon, Fiona.
Hi, everyone.
Fiona got involved with Jira when she actually started helping us deploy AI within our business. And she brings a wealth of experience from across multiple industries. So you'll hear a lot more from her throughout this conversation. You won't have to just listen to my dull voice sort of rambling on. Today we're focusing on AI in your business. This is a business-to-business type model rather than business to consumer. But a lot of the same logic will apply. Okay, so I'll jump on. The situation at the moment is in the industry, what we're actually seeing is everyone's panicking and saying, oh, we must do something with AI. And the result is a lot of people are trying to do things, but they're actually breaking or it's not working and they're having to cancel the projects later on. Now, this is going to be an interactive webinar. So that's code for we don't know where this is going to go because we don't know the questions you're actually going to ask. So we've over-prepared. We've made way more content here than we can get through. But don't worry, we're planning a workshop in late May, early June. So if there's something you want to dive in deeper, we can pick that up there or do a one-to-one chat. Now, in the chat button, I'm assuming the chat button is working at the moment. I can't actually see it because I'm presenting. Can you see it, Fiona?
Yeah, it's working.
Perfect. All right. So somebody's going to pay attention to you during the call. So how many of you have been told that you must use AI in your business? Put in the chat, just say yes, no. We'll get a percentage. Did I mention this was interactive? Now I've started off with something easy, just press the button. Right. So while you're deciding whether that's the case for you or not, so let me give you some background on what's actually happening in the industry at the moment. So 54% of SMEs are now actively using AI. That's up from 35% last year and 25% the year before. Another stat that's probably quite important, particularly in sort of knowledge-based sectors. 86% of SMEs say they're currently using AI, but it's not had any negative impact on headcount. So nobody's getting it might be changing jobs, but the actual number of roles has not decreased. The UK government own research has found that the biggest barrier to entry isn't cost or technology, it's actually a lack of AI skills and expertise. And similarly, 71% of people said they simply hadn't identified a clear use of AI in their organization. Hopefully, we'll show you how to sort of deal with those today. So, the upshot is most businesses aren't behind because they can't afford it. It's because they don't know how to use it and they don't have the skills. All right. So I'll jump on to anything you want to add to that, Fiona?
No, you got it, Ali?
Okay, right, superb. Or for those of you who are leading the organization, you're probably feeling overwhelmed, under pressure, and you're uncertain on what to do. I wanted to put this in the slide first of all. This is actually a strategy piece, but I think it's really, really important. Since we're all running businesses, we all have customers. And so, really, what we want to be doing is saying, right, how can AI help us deliver a better service or product or solution to our clients? Not how do we use AI? All right. So, what do our customers want, and how can AI help us deliver it? All right. That was originally from a book by the AI Driven Leader by Jeff Woods. And I think he pretty much summed it up quite nicely there. So by changing it this way, you're actually changing it from a technical question, a technical problem, and you're turning it into a business strategy issue. All right. So remember that customer first, and then how do we do it? At the end of this hour, you'll have four things: an understanding of our AI adoption framework, a framework for actually working out how you can use AI to improve your profit in your organization, a simple method for having your first good conversation with AI, and access to our AI hub, which has loads of resources on mapping AI opportunities to your sector and job role. I will introduce the hub later on when I try and break this and I switch between the PowerPoint slide and my browser. Now, I've already introduced Fiona, so we'll jump straight into the adoption roadmap. Fiona, do you want to talk us through this and where you see this in comparison to people who've been working with yourself?
Yeah, no problem. So, I mean, one of the biggest questions, guys, we get asked from lots of different clients when they start to look at AI is, where do we even start? Because we hear so much hype and noise in the marketplace about we need automations, we need agents, we need to be doing all of these things with AI. But the challenge that we have in all industries, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're an architect, whether you're in food and beverage, publishing, whatever sector you're in, you are always better to start right at the very beginning by starting with what we call the AI assistant layer. So by the AI assistant layer, what we mean is start by using things like Copilot, or some of you might be using ChatGPT, you might be using Claude or Perplexity, whatever kind of chat tool you're using for the efficiency and productivity layer. That's what we mean by the AI assistant layer. Now, we always recommend, myself and Ali, we always recommend that you start off with the AI assistant layer by using a secure tool like Copilot. The reason we recommend Copilot over everything else is everything that you use Copilot for stays within your Microsoft 365 tenant. So it means that anything your staff are using it for, anything you're using it for, your client data, your company data, everything is way more secure when you use it within a Copilot environment. Whereas when you're using it in things like ChatGPT or Claude, if your staff are uploading, let's say, files or any confidential information, that can then be shared with the wider public. So we are always advocates of always start with the Copilot layer first, and always start with doing a readiness assessment so that you have a secure environment. You've got good foundations for the layer of AI first. So always start with the AI assistant layer. Then once you've mastered that, and you will start to see huge productivity wins even when you do that, and we'll share some of them with you as well, you'll see a massive increase in productivity. You'll see huge efficiency gains when you master that level first. Then on top of that, you'll have to then move into automation, because you'll start to want to get automation to help you to do the work, and then move into what we call agents or agentic AI. But what you don't want to do is go jumping straight into agents first without laying the foundations on the AI assistant layer first. And when we do see that happen, we see a lot of agents fall over because the environment hasn't been secured for AI to start with. So I would always say start with AI assistants, then move into automation, then move into agents. Once you've got this top layer here, these first three boxes, once you've got that working, then you can scale. That's when you would go into multi-agent system and digital workforces. And then that's when you'd become a full AI-driven business.
Is it fair to say that actually part of most organizations haven't got past level 4 yet?
Most haven't. No, most
Yeah.
businesses across all of the UK, Scotland, most businesses are now starting to enter into automation and agentic AI, but you've even got some who haven't mastered the assistant layer.
Yeah, no, we've seen that in quite a few places because there's a whole bit of foundation security you have to do before you can even get to that. I mean, I agree with you about using co-pilots or within the business, but personally, from it as an assistant point of view, I really like Claude.
Yeah.
One thing that is coming down the line is Microsoft are starting to allow you to use other assistants within the Copilot framework for them. However, as you know, this is a fast-moving space. There are still legal issues with your data going into Claude
Yeah.
because the American government has access to this. But I suppose really what we're trying to show here is look, there's a seven-stage model to your AI adoption maturity. And knowing where you are is critical to knowing, right, what do you have to have in place and what the next stage looks like, rather than let's just grab it all. I know, let's just AI everything. It's just like, no, there's a controlled and a process to run through, on this. So you're saying AI assistants, automation, agents, and then scale.
Then scale. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I hope that was clear for everyone. Let me show you some of our results of what we found when we deployed AI assistants at Jira. So we became our own customer zero because there weren't that many people out there to learn from originally. So straight away, we implemented Teams transcripts. Now, being a knowledge-based business, we're in meetings quite a lot. And what we found here is that we could save roughly about 5 to 8 hours per employee per week just by capturing what was said in the meetings, turning that into a transcript, and then turning that into actions that people had agreed that they would actually do that week. It was also really useful when people weren't about. Quite often our team are spread around and disparate, so they can't attend, and so getting that stuff, the information afterwards, really improved productivity there. Similarly, we started implementing email triage. This is quite useful for long conversations, say between customers, third parties, something that may have dragged on for several weeks. You can actually then get a synopsis of right where that's at, who's doing what, but also what you must look at that day. So you get a daily email saying, here's what you need to focus on today. Again, this was a simple win, but it's all within our 365 tenancy and all within Copilot. So for the majority of us out there, this is actually quite an easy one to implement. But it starts getting the organization's confidence up and starts training your team on being able to actually say, right, okay, right, what can I actually do with this? Anything you want to add on that, Fiona?
Yeah, I would just say, that sometimes we kind of think when we think of AI, we think, it has to be, you only get results from agents, you only get results from automations. We actually see a huge amount of quick wins just even by using this. Like as an example, if you're not familiar with using Copilot or using Teams, guys, if you're running any client meetings, any staff meetings, anything, when you're using Copilot, you can use the Teams functionality just like we are in Zoom today, but you can turn on a transcript. So it's going to record everything that happens in the meeting. And then as soon as you finish the meeting, it's going to give you the replay, but it also gives you a full transcript of everything that was discussed in the meeting. You then put that into Copilot and you say, can you create as a follow-up email? The email will automatically be created. It'll tell you who was in the meeting, what the action points were, what the follow-up steps were. So instead of you having to spend 20, 30 minutes after every meeting doing that email, Copilot automatically does it for you and it saves you a huge amount of time. Even this one functionality alone, this is the biggest ROI that we see. And we work with lots of people who are using Copilot. This is the biggest ROI. You can save 5 to even 10 hours probably per person per week just by using that. And that's a huge time saving.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
underestimate the amount of time you'll save by one functionality.
See, that sounded almost like the old KISS model, keep it simple, stupid. It's like
Yeah,
this is an easy win, so people will actually
so
tend to
easy.
ignore it. Yeah. Okay, so I'll jump on to the next slide there. And so basically what we're finding is there's three ways AI can create value in the business. People, It frees your team from repetitive tasks. Operations, you can streamline workflows, and products either improve the product itself or, in the case of services, actually improve how you actually deliver solutions. Particularly, we found that on our service desk as a way forward. And I'll go into some more detail on that. So within Jira, so we started off at the assistant level, and then we started to deploy agents within the organization. And the two examples we have. So the first one is our knowledge agent. This actually took quite a bit of work to actually achieve, but you can see the ROI there. So with 3 hours saved per engineer per week, that adds up to a full-time person every month. What we had to do here is we had to move our documentation into SharePoint, so our client documentation, so that Copilot could actually get access to it and actually could then feed that back to engineers. We had to integrate that into our ticketing system so that information could actually be pulled up within that, so that the engineers had ready access to it, rather than actually having to go to a different system to get it. I actually then allowed our ticketing system to actually make recommendations based on the information that was actually in there. It improved the quality control of our documentation. So not all our documents were up to the standard that we prefer. So it did a gap analysis, say, right, we're missing documentation on X, Y, and Z, which was in engineers' heads. So it's had a massive impact on actually what we're doing, as well as the direct saving of the software we had to buy to manage our documentation in the first place. So that's a big piece with a big impact, but that's just one agent. If you imagine that across all the departments in an organization, imagine what that saving looks like. Now, what's interesting for us is it isn't actually just a saving in time, but it actually allows us to redistribute resource. So, for example, we are now looking at hiring additional AI specialists within our organization, whereas we couldn't do that before because we were maxed out on actually what we were doing from a customer delivery point of view. In my next slide, I'll show you the impact on the actual numbers. Another agent we've introduced. Now, while that hasn't had the same impact as the knowledge agent, it's still, again, it's just another chip away of the sort of, of bureaucracy, as it were. So our HR agent, it fields calls like, what's the company policy for maternity leave? What's my holiday allowance? How do I book time off? Or what's our policy regarding sick leave? It provides all the answers to that without actually having to go to an HR person specifically. We actually have this agent readily available now for actual clients to deploy in their organization when you get to that point. Let me just emphasize that. But obviously, the bigger the organization, the more that actually has a potential benefit for you. So for us, it's not just helping now, it's actually doing some of the work. It's actually running assessments. I'm just going to check and see if I've missed anything on the knowledge agent point.
I think just one thing to mention here, Ali. So Neil has said, we don't have a ticketing system, but we do receive a lot of client queries by email. Could we gather details of client queries across the team using AI? So the answer to that is yes, you can definitely do that. And it's a great way to summarize all of your FAQs and everything else that come in from clients. But even better than that, Neil, what you could do is actually use the knowledge agent at the front end of it. So the knowledge agent can actually become like a customer support agent. So when they ask the frequently asked questions, you could have that knowledge agent and part of the HR agent actually act as a customer service agent that would help them live. So you can have them solve the queries as well.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Neil? Maybe, maybe not.
I think there was a delay in the chat. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So we've got these agents deployed in here. We're working on more within the organization. Let me show you some of the impacts or some of the early results on this. Here's some of our KPIs. There's two of them that we track here. So average response time to ticket. This is across all client tickets. And our customer satisfaction score. Now, we implemented our knowledge agent at the beginning of February. All right. And you can see we did cause a little bit of disruption the beginning of February. You can see so our average response time per ticket jumped to 107 minutes. But as it starts to bed in and we actually start to see the improvement, you can see for the next 3 weeks, we actually hit our target of 60-minute KPI response time quite consistently. Actually, quite a big jump there. So what we decided to do is we said, right, okay, we think we can actually hit a 30-minute response time. Can you imagine doing that as a 50% improvement in less than a month and actually on the service that we're actually delivering our clients? Now, based on that, you can see on the 2nd of March, our response time is 41 minutes. Under our new KPI, it's now a fail because it's in red, but it's still, twice the speed of where we were in January. But you can start to see it's still coming down. So towards the end of March, we're under 40 minutes. And in the first week of April, we're actually down to 18 minutes. Now, I'd like to see it get to 15. I don't think I'm asking too much, from my team. But the point is, we're actually starting to see the impact on the customer service. And we can see this is reflected in the CSAT score, which is a lagging indicator. So just even looking at it as a whole, you can see there's way more green on the CSAT in March and April than was earlier in the quarter. So you can see a direct impact on the numbers just by introducing AI, but focusing on what makes a difference to the customer. And that's how quickly we respond to issues that they raise, either by email or on the phone. I can also add that actually we're sitting at 100% now for the whole of April on our CSAT feedback, which is, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So I'm showing you this so you actually understand how you can use AI successfully in your organization. It needs to track back to something, and back to my first slide is it's all about the customer. Okay. So we're going to jump to the next slide, and this is where we get interactive again. Fiona, do you want to talk everyone through this exercise?
Yeah. So one of the things that we did with Ali and the team when we started working with them is we had them map out all of the kind of the processes, the workflows, the tasks that they do on a regular basis within the service team, within the total business. And we started to map out what those processes, tasks, and workflows would look like. So I would encourage everyone on today's call to do the same so that you can identify at least one of them where AI could help you in your business today. So I'd encourage you to think about some tasks, workflows, or processes that you do as part of your role in your sector every day in your business today. So start to think about that. And then if you can, just pop it into the chat for us, or just even write it down in front of you. Start to think about things that you do repeatable. So, you take the same steps every single time. Like, for example, when Ali's service team had a call coming in, they were going through the same steps every time. It was a repeatable process, a repeatable step task that they were doing all of the time. So anything that is repeatable, list that. Anything that is rule-based. So, for example, you have a rule set up. There's clear logic set behind it. It might be, for example, on the first of every month, this invoicing has to be reconciled. There could be some kind of rules that are set behind it. You can think about things like that. Anything that's resource heavy, so it's taken a lot of your time, documents, spreadsheets, loads of data, email management, anything that you're spending a lot of your time on a day or a week-to-week basis doing, try and list those workflows or tasks or processes. The other one is risk prone. So anything where you're seeing the same mistakes happen over and over again, or perhaps if something doesn't get sent out on, a correct date or time, it's going to cause you a risk to the business. We see this a lot with salespeople who have to send quotations out and they have a policy to send them out within, let's say, 48 hours after a call. That's a kind of activity that would be risk prone if it doesn't get done. And then the next one is to look at something that is specific to your role. So if you're a lawyer, if you're a business owner, if you're in HR, if you're an operations director, think of the role you do on a day-to-day basis and try to list some of the tasks, workflows, or processes that you do that's role-based for you. And then when you pull all of them together, that would show you where AI can directly help and impact your business today. So do we have any in the chat, John? Has anybody decided to be interactive?
That was my concern there, Fiona. I was like, I didn't hear much clacking of keyboards, even virtually. Anyone feeling confident to step up with something where they're actually curious to see?
Client onboarding, brilliant, Neil. I love it. That can so easily be done with AI today.
Can we
And it's
can
the
we send
same
Neil a t-shirt?
process.
Because he's answered
Huh?
the question twice.
Yeah, I think he should get the readiness assessment, Ali.
Okay.
But client onboarding is and the same as employee onboarding, guys. When you're doing the same process over and over again, what I love now about automation and AI is that you can really embrace AI to help you to do all of that. So, like as an example, the HR agent that Ali talked about earlier, you could use the same functionality of that HR agent, Neil, to do client onboarding for you. All right. What else have we got? CPD recording. Yes, you could do all of that as well. You could set an automation or an agent up to do that. Zara, can you take us through the steps for client onboarding and how this would work with an AI agent? So Zara, that's where we'd have to map that out with you. So one of the things we do when, like for example, with Ali, when we were building out the knowledge agent, we would walk through, we call it a business process workshop. We'd walk through all of the workflows, all of the steps that you currently go through for client onboarding, and then we'd map that into a workflow, like an automated workflow or an agent, and then that would take over the workflow for you. An easy way to look at it is anything that you'd had on your list that is repeatable, you would use automation to help you to do that part. Anything that you had as rule-based, resource-heavy, risk-prone, or role-based, we would build an agent to do that for you. So the easy, quick wins are the repeatable tasks. That's really quick to do with automation. And then the rest of it, we would build an agent.
Yeah.
Can
Just
these
let me jump in
integrate?
there, Fiona, because we have a similar situation. So
Yeah.
obviously, all our clients they bring on staff on a regular basis as well, and so we introduced automation there. So the HR department or whomever, they would request a new user to be set up. They would give us their name, the details, their email address, the applications they need, the resources they need, and that would come into our ticketing system, which would then automatically start to create that user account in the client's tenancy, make sure a license was allocated. So it's not the exact same example, but it can be done as long as it's
Mm.
repeatable.
And also the key thing is having the process and the workflow mapped out in the first place, because
Yeah.
Zara, one of the things that we find, especially when we have clients who want to look at AI agents, a lot of them actually don't have the whole process mapped out initially. So the very first thing is let's map everything out, then we build the agent to take over. So we give it the autonomy and the action to then do the client onboarding for you.
Yeah.
The other question here is, can we integrate it with our current CMS system? So yes, you can integrate all of the agents with your current workflows. So like as an example with Ali, I think we integrated the knowledge agent with 3 or 4 different systems that you were using.
Yeah.
And it automatically talks to the system. It pulls the information back to the agent. So the action is always taken by the agent. It's very powerful when you see it all working together.
Actually, I mean, on that is actually when you really see it. So if you imagine multiple agents working together,
Mm.
so agent orchestration, that's that next level. But don't get too excited by that yet. That you've got to almost work your way up to that. So that would be part of your, a 12-month, 24-month sort of AI roadmap, which would form part of the business strategy. The Okay, any more questions on that just now before we jump on to the next slide? I promise the next slide's easier. I know that was a tough exercise there for you. And actually, one thing you could do is you could ask an AI assistant to help you with that. I'll jump onto that in a slide later on, but you could actually use that to ask a question and say, right, what are the typical repeatable processes in my type of business? And then see how much of it actually resonates. So you don't have to do all the heavy lifting yourself. Next slide. So find the ROI. Fiona, I'll let you run on this one.
Yeah, do you want to share the hub, Ali?
Oh, do you want to see that?
Can you
Just is
jump
that?
over to the hub or?
I don't know. As everyone can see, I'm already having technical issues today. The fact that you can see my notes, and I just well, I didn't write any jokes down here for you to look at as well because they just wouldn't land. Right. Let me give this a shot. I'm going to stop
Oh,
sharing.
can you see
Uh,
my screen? I'll share it.
go for it if you want to share yours.
Can you see my screen?
Nope. Yes.
Yay. All right. So I'm going to share this with you guys. This is Ali's AI hub. He's done a brilliant job of creating a hub that you can use for all of the resources, the questions you have about AI. The hub's a really good resource. But the one I want to show you here is when you're trying to work out the real ROI from AI, because we get asked all of this all the time. Yes, we're saving X amount of hours per month or hours per week, but what do we actually get? What's the real value? What's the real ROI that we get from using automation and AI in the business? So these are some of the typical results that we see when we use automation and AI. Up to 30% time saving on reduction on any admin tasks. That's one of your quick wins that you'll always see. Faster information retrieval for employees, up to 45% faster. So Ali's Knowledge Agent is a really good example of that, where they were able to gain client information much faster, and that's what contributed towards the faster response times. Any improved efficiency in internal communications, up to 25% increase in that. And the big one, 60% time saved on manual data entry and processing. So think of all the manual data, the manual tasks you're doing in your business today. You can now see a real benefit when you start to use automation and AI for that part of your business. And in terms of working the ROI out, the way that we work it out is really easy. We look at the number of employees that you have in your business. So you can even do this with me if you want to. Look at how many employees. Is it 20? Is it 30, 40, 50, whatever it is? Then look at how much time your team are currently spending on repetitive tasks every single week. Is it 5 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours? We actually find in a lot of businesses it can be up to 20 hours per employee per week that is either spent on repetitive tasks, resource heavy tasks, rule based, risk prone tasks, up to 20 hours a week. That's a lot of time. So what we're saying is when you start to use AI and automation, you could potentially save per employee up to 10 to 12 hours per employee per week. Ali's already seen this in his business, and it's more than a bit. You can do this in your own business as well when you start to use automation. So to work your ROI out, we literally look at, let's say you save 10 to 12 hours per week per employee. Your number of employees, you're going to multiply it by that. That would equate to 500 hours saved per week in a 50-person business. So you can do your own calculation for your own size business. On an annual basis, that's huge. That is a really significant saving in time, over 26,000 hours recovered every year. And then when you look at your average hourly salary, let's say a fully stacked salary, let's say based on a 50K salary per person, how much roughly are you paying per hour for those people? And then you'd multiply that by the hours that you've saved. So in total, if we look at a 50-person business, a 50-person employee business, if we were to only save them 10 to 12 hours per person per week, that would actually equate to over 624,000 of unlocked revenue capacity in your business every year. So with AI, it's not just the time you're getting back into the business, it's the recoverable capacity. So for example, with Ali and Jera, the amount of time we've given them back into the business has actually enabled them to now help clients like you to advance their AI and automation strategies. Before that, they just wouldn't have had the time to do it. But now you've unlocked all of that time. It opens up so many opportunities for your business.
Yeah, I think that's the bit that is actually ignored. It's not necessarily just a revenue saving, it's the ability to change what you do.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that when you try to implement change in any business, it just chews up time. So without the ability to basically make the change without actually hiring additional people, I think is really a critical understanding. I'm going to jump in there because actually not everyone on the call has a 50 user business, but the same philosophy applies to your own time. I always remember a term used by one of my coaches back in the day. It was called HABU, highest and best use. And lots of us, especially when we're, say, 10 users or less in our organization, or even just ourselves, we have to do a whole lot of things that are just not useful. So we might be posting stuff on social media, or we might be trying to, get the next sale in, or whatever. And it's like, right, where can we deploy agents so that actually you maximize the amount of time that you have doing productive work in front of clients. So so don't panic if you're going, that 624,000 doesn't apply to me. Really, it's the same philosophy. It's just a matter of scale.
Even
Uh,
if you look at a 30 user business, we've worked that out because a lot of your clients, Ali, were roughly around 20 to 30 users. So even if we look at the saving here for a 30 user company, it still equates to around 390K,
yeah,
unlock revenue capacity every year in a business. So depending on how many employees you have, it scales with that. But what we have found is the revenue and time saving we find is huge.
yeah, absolutely. That probably leads us on nicely onto the next slide, which I won't bother showing because we'll just talk about. We'll just stay in the hub. So we're looking at sort of AI in your sector specifically. So you can see here we have use cases per industry. Fiona, do you want to talk us through this?
Yeah, so let's see in the chat. Do you want to pop in the chat, guys, what sector or industry you're from? And I'll show the card from that industry. I think John said to me earlier, we have a lot of lawyers who are on here. So lawyers and legal firms, we see huge use of automation and AI now. However, one caveat I would put in there, and this is why we work with companies like Ali, governance and compliancy, especially in the legal sector when you're using automation and AI is huge. So we lead with a security and governance aspect of any automation and AI. So we always lead with making sure that your environment is secure. We have governance set up first. You're compliant with everything. And then we implement the right AI tools to make sure that you remain compliant. It's also why we recommend we stay within the Microsoft 365 and Azure environment for the AI assistant level with Copilot, for any automations, for any agents we build. We stay within your Microsoft 365 environment. So client data, confidential data, nothing ever leaves your secure wall, the perimeter we've set up for you, nothing ever leaves it, which is why so many lawyers, accountants, schools, universities, anybody in a regulated industry, this is a much safer option for you to use automation and AI than using, ad hoc tools like Claude or, Perplexity. Do it in a safe and governed way, and you'll still get all the benefits without all the risks and hassle that comes with it. So
Yes,
we'll give
actually,
you an
it's easier. It
example.
is. It is
Yeah.
easier as well to kind of progress through the stages if you're just focusing on the one system. So all your Azure data, if you have items in the cloud, you can get it from there. It's much more of a challenge to actually pull in some of the third-party products. Now, that's not because it can't be done, but usually because of the integration part. If you've got some legacy software, it probably doesn't have an API or a connector allowing the AI agents to actually connect and actually pull the data from that. So the quick wins are definitely right. Where do we start here? Once you've got that in place, then you can say, right, okay, now it's worth the investment of actually integrating the third parties. Um, Once you've beaten them around the head and actually had a look at their legal standpoint and their compliance, say with UK law or US law.
Yeah, it's really important, especially in regulated sectors. It's super important. So we've kind of built out use cases here, guys, for everybody that we work with in different sectors. We've tried to build up these use cases because the biggest questions we get asked from everybody is, how do we use AI? What kind of challenges can it help us to overcome? How do we use it on the assistant layer? What kind of automations can we build? What kind of agents can we build? And then a lot of people want to see real world examples. Show me a lawyer who's really using AI today and they're getting the benefits from it. So for every one of the industries, we've created this for you. So after today's webinar, if you make sure that we know what industry you're in, John will send you a personalized card here so that you can see a full use case of your own sector. But here's an example for the lawyers on today's call. So, common challenges, legal research time. I don't need to explain it to you. There's a huge amount of time that goes into that. Contract review, document drafting, due diligence reviews, knowledge access. The knowledge agent's fantastic for that. Any regulations or compliances you have to abide by. Again, all of these are common challenges that we see with legal practices. On the assistant layer, what we use here is Copilot that's going to summarize all of your legal research summaries. A lot of contract drafting, we use Copilot for that. For communication with clients, again, you'll see huge wins from the teams, transcripts, follow-up emails, all of that. You'll see big wins even on the Copilot layer here. Then naturally what happens with the legal sector is once you start to see those productivity wins, the next questions we always get is, well, can AI just automate that for us, or can AI start to do the work for us securely? And the answer to that is yes, but that's when you would move into automated workflows and agents. So the type of automations you could have is contract analysis automation, due diligence document review. You can have an automated workflow set up for that. Legal document generation, any of that, but anything that's repeatable that you keep doing again, we can set up an automation to do that for you. In terms of agents, we see a lot of legal knowledge agents. So the same agent basically that Ali's using, but it would be applicable to the legal sector as well. A contract risk agent, the agent would automatically spot complications in a contract or expose anything that you need to take a deeper look at. Compliance and regulation monitoring, checking all of the time that you're remaining compliant with it. So these are all opportunities where you could use automation and AI. A good example of that is a legal firm called Allen and Overy, where they have an agent set up to do AI legal drafting and review. And because of using the agent in the business now, they've seen a 40% reduction in time spent reviewing complex documentation. So think of your own legal practice. Where are the time leaks? Where's the resources, the time, the repetitive tasks happening again and again? All of that now you can have AI and automation to help you with that. But again, we have these use cases for over 30 different sectors now. So have a look at the hub after today, or John will send it to you and take a deeper look at it. Who do we have in the chat, guys? Do we have any other sectors that have come up?
Just an aside there, an interesting story from the early days. Allen Overy was actually the first legal practice that I worked with back around 2002. This is in the days when we had servers and things like that, and I had to build their secure website to stop them being hacked by the bad guys back in the day. They have a special place in my heart.
Showing your age now, Alex.
Yeah, no, exactly. There's a couple of people definitely on from the publishing side, so accounting. So I'm conscious of time.
Yeah, so we've got all of them here. I'd say, let's send these out afterwards. We've got accounting here. Did you say somebody in publishing as well? We've got publishing. We've got publishing here, independent publishing companies. We've got them in some real examples. Drinks and beverage, food production, manufacturing, engineering, hospitality. We've got over 30 different use cases built there for you. So I'd say have a look at those ones. And then the last thing I'll cover here is also by department and role. So if you're, let's say, in operations or you're in marketing, marketing or you're in leadership, the same thing applies. We look at all of the kind of repetitive tasks that you would do within the operationals department. And then again, we'll give you real world examples. These are the common challenges that AI can help you with. Here's some examples of where you could use it. And again, some real world ROI examples so you can see where it's helping. So I'd encourage everyone to go in and have a look at the hub.
Perfect. There's a question here that's actually from John, and he's asking, can you address the accuracy of AI and the self-referencing and hallucination?
Yeah.
Now I've seen that a couple of times when it's come up with stats, and you've asked it to actually, like, where did you get that stat? And it gives you a link, and when you try to get to it, the link doesn't actually exist, and the stat, it turns out, it's pulled it from some obscure paper. Like the Iowa Farming Herald or something along those lines. You're like, right, it's not actually, a high quality. What am I looking for? Authority, on the topic. There's a couple of techniques you can use, John. One is that actually you get multiple AIs to actually do the research initially. Now, especially if you're thinking this at an assistant level rather than giving it access to your data, and then you can actually get the AIs to critique the other AI's output and say, right, okay, well, I don't like where it got that, or you can get it to analyze the links or the sources that it's pulled. Even within the same one. So, for example, if you're using Claude and you're using Sonnet, the chat you'll get back from it is different to what you would get back from Opus, which is the latest instance of their solution, and it'll argue about the quality of what the other one did. So you just keep feeding things back. You can also specifically ask it not to hallucinate. You can actually say, right, I only want you to focus on the data that's there. Don't add anything else that you think that you've made up or extrapolated. So there are ways to deal with it, but that's actually back to how you prompt initially. Hopefully that answers your question to some degree.
The only other thing I'd add in there, Ali, and John, perhaps if you tell me what sector are you in? Are you in the legal sector by
No,
any
he's
chance?
in public. He's Johnson Publishing.
In publishing, okay, all right. So the other thing I would say is, especially initially when you start using AI and automation, you should always have what we call a human in the loop. Initially when you're building out agents, you want to check that the autonomy you're giving them, the actions they take is correct. So we always say, set it up first. Like we did the same with Ali's company. Before we send anything out to clients, we have a human in the loop to check that what we're sending out is correct first until you train it to do everything that you want it to do. You can also, if you're using other external tools, make sure you go into the settings that are in any of the AI tools and you put into the settings under personalization so that you only want reference stuff to come back to you with valid links and valid studies and case studies so that it doesn't hallucinate. It won't go and get you like random stuff that you're going to be researching unless it has a valid research link with it. You can set that up to help hallucinating. Because it does happen with some of the tools. We've seen it, especially in the legal sector, where we've seen a lawyer actually in the States recently who was sued because his legal team was using ChatGPT to build up like a summaries of case studies that they had won in the area that they were fighting. But it turned out, long story short, it turned out the case studies they were using actually weren't real. They were hallucinated by ChatGPT, and they were using it in a court to get for evidence, and it was all fake evidence. So you do need to be very careful, especially in regulated sectors, which is why we put really secure boundaries around everything that we help Ali's clients with. The governance and security part becomes super important.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Should we jump back to the slide deck?
Yeah, it actually comes on to the next question anyway, which is how do we know if AI is safe? So John's perfect timing.
Okay. Let's.
So in the interest of time, maybe we go straight to is AI safe?
Okay. All right. What a great idea, Fiona. How about Fiona?
You're not sharing.
Is AI safe? That's funny. I know I'm not sharing yet, but it's because I haven't actually I mentioned that. I haven't got that isn't actually the next part on our slide. Um, the so we just did department, we did sector. I was looking at common mistakes, but should we address the safe part first before we
Yeah.
sort of move on? Do you want to kick off?
Yeah, so I would just say that in terms of security and governance, what I would always encourage everyone to do is to start your AI journey with what we call an AI readiness assessment. And the assessment that will go in and assess all parts of your business. So, not just the technical aspect like your Microsoft 365 tenant, everything else. It assesses the overall business, the business side, the strategy of why you want to use AI, the sector you're in, the department you're working in. I would always say start with that readiness assessment first, because if there's any risk that you're going to be exposed to with AI, the readiness assessment will generally highlight that to us first. And then your very next step is to actually do what we call a data governance and a cleanup package where we would clean your environment up for you, making sure that it is safe use for AI before you even implement things like Copilot. Because what you need to remember is when you're using AI, AI has access to everything. So
Yeah.
if you don't have the environment secured properly, like for example, if you've got loads of oversharing and sensitive files aren't labeled correctly, if there's no permission set up or security group set up in the company, any AI we put into your business will have access to everything, and that's not what you want. You want to make sure that it's locked down from the very start. So I'd say in terms of safety, always start with security and governance first, responsible AI use policy, put all of that in place first. Then you can benefit from all of the savings, but in a safe and governed way. And it gives you peace of mind that AI is safe, but
I,
also work with a managed service provider like Ali. The reason I work with managed service providers is because they already manage the security side of your business, and they operate with everything in terms of AI agents have to go through an identity check before they take any actions. All the role-based are set up. So working with a managed service provider is so much better because it gives you that feeling of the security and governance part. Ali and his team, they manage the whole thing in the background for you. They use a system called Purview, which I won't go into, it's very technical. But there's a system in the background that we run to make sure that we monitor absolutely everything AI touches in your business, any data, any files, anything it touches to make sure it's secure and governed.
yeah,
Ali, I'll pass over to you.
that's actually the early stages of a model we're developing, which is called QI. Which is actually stands for quorum intelligence, and it's the idea of humans and AI working together.
Mm,
Um, and you're basically saying, right, what you should be able to do, what you can do, what you can't do. But it's actually almost holistically across the organization, so you know what's actually going on. We're starting to see it deployed in enterprises, but we're working on a solution where we can actually bring that into the SMB space. And it's and each business version of it will be unique. So that's the early stages, but you can keep an eye on that here. Right, I'm conscious we've got 5 minutes left, and we're not even halfway through the slides. So I think everyone should go for lunch, and then we can step in after. I'm only kidding. The I'm going to jump. There's a couple of things I want to share with you. Actually, one of the stats was from here. So Gartner predicts that more than 40% of agentic AI projects will be cancelled by 2027 due to escalating costs, unclear business value, or inadequate risk controls. So we're trying to help you avoid that kind of thing happening to yourself. There's a couple of more stats there, but let me show you something. Now, some of you on the call, particularly a very good dear friend of mine and business coach, Alan Smith, will recognize this model. It's the 5 ways to grow your profit in your organization. Any business or organization could be kind of dropped down into these 5 metrics from a repeatable point of view. The number of leads that you get, your conversion rate, that gives you your number of customers, the average amount they spend, times the number of times they buy from you within the year, gives you your total revenue, and then your efficiency, then gives you your profit. Okay. Now, when I've worked with Alan on this model before, the typical thing would go, what if you could do just a 10% improvement in these numbers? All right. Now, on this slide here, you can see the difference, right? If you drop straight to the bottom line, because that's what everyone's interested in, just by a 10% improvement in those areas, you can get a 61% improvement in profit, right? That's really where we all want to get to. Now, leading back to what Fiona was saying about organizational capacity to handle change, really that stems to this. What I've done here is I've taken these 5 levers and I've added them to effectively to a department. It may be different in your business, but you can get the idea. So we've got marketing, we've got sales, we've got account management, customer service, we've got operations and finance. And really what you're saying is, right, in our business, if we were looking for a 10% improvement in one of these, what would we do? And what you can do is you can actually use AI to actually help you design the strategy here. Now, everyone happy that I will do a deeper dive on it at some point, either in a workshop or on a one-to-one. But just say that what we've done is we've built a strategy aligned to what the business wants to improve. Now, let's get to the point of your prompting. You're now asking your AI partner, what are we going to do this year? Okay, let's get the framework for the prompt. So you give the AI context. So you give it a rich background of what's actually going on, what the current situation is, information about your company, and the goals you want to achieve. The role you'd like AI to adopt. Is it an analyst? Is it an advisor? And then you ask it to interview you because this information is in your head. This applies whether you're a team leader or a person, at the front, sort of customer facing, or whether you're a business owner or management. Ask it to interview you to get that information from your head into the actual prompt. And then the task, what you want the AI to specifically do. So, give me an example here. Sorry, I'm rushing through this. So here's an example, leads marketing one. I run an accounting business, for example, in Edinburgh, and I serve the legal market. Act as my digital marketing strategist and interview me about my current marketing. Then give me 10 low-cost ways to generate more leads this quarter. All right, there we go. There's a thing. And then you work through an iterative thing and say, right, of these 10, well, I might do these 2. They look promising, or these don't look any good, or that was rubbish. Then you go back to the drawing board and start again and say, right, okay, let's give it some more context. But you can do that without giving it any access to the data within your organization. Later, when it does have access to the data, it can actually say, well, based on last quarter's performance, we should look at doing X, Y, and Z. All right. I've got about 4 or 5 different examples for the different departments within the organization. I won't go through them all just now, but you can actually see them there. So if we give you the deck, or if anyone asks for the deck, they can actually see what that would actually look like. So getting started tomorrow. You don't need a strategy, you just need a first move. How can AI help you? So list the tasks. We talked about this earlier, find the ROI. But whenever you're doing something in your day-to-day, just say, how could AI help me do this task? Come up with an answer on it, ask it. Use the crit prompt that I showed you. Pick one repetitive task and see if you can hand it to AI. You review the results and iterate. Honestly, it's just playtime. You can really make a difference here and just really get yourself comfortable with what AI can actually do. All right. I won't go into this slide here, but it's the same idea. We're trying to move ourselves from doing stuff to designing a business that actually, or an organization that does stuff better. All right. I don't have time for a quick recap. I'm already 1 minute past the time. There's so much here that we can go through. Next steps. Follow up with us directly. We'll send you a personalized AI use case card based on your role and sector. But I think it's actually probably worth booking a session where we can walk through an AI roadmap, identify your biggest opportunities. We can conduct an AI readiness assessment. Normally we charge £1,500 for that, but those that come on the webinar or sign up for the workshop, we can give that for free. We'll do a Microsoft Copilot security audit to sort of see what the current settings are. even if you've started using Copilot, it's still worth carrying out the audit because then you know if the settings are right. The policies Microsoft releases and changes they make every month is huge, and most people don't check it, especially if it's an internal IT team. They just ignore it because nobody's told them that they should be checking these things. It's not a criticism. It's just there's so many changes happening all the time that you need to keep an eye on that. Similarly, the Microsoft 365 security audit, that'll look at your secure score and see if there's some quick wins to tidy that up before you unleash Copilot across your organization. Anything you want to add there, Fiona?
No,
Okay,
just you're in a safe pair of hands with Ali and the team. And I have to shoot myself, so I need to go. But it's been really great spending some time with you all today. And I just say get in touch with Ali, have a look at the hub, definitely do the readiness assessment. You're in really safe hands with an MSP because they know all of your security and governance in the first place. So you're in safe hands.
What Fiona really meant there is you'd be really safe hands with us, not any old MSP. But
Exactly.
we're not precious. A quick one. I'll just look at this. Is there any questions or anything in the chat that we need to look at?
No, I think it's all
No.
done.
Okay, no worries. Listen, everyone, thanks for joining today. Apologies for running a few minutes over there and having to rush a few of the slides. As I said, we didn't know which way it was going to go. Take care. We'll be in touch, or feel free to reach out. Fiona, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Cheers, mate. Bye.